Good evening and welcome to the Angels Camp City Council meeting for April 21st. And if we could have roll call, please.
All right, we're going to start with Council Member Ehill.
Here.
Vice Mayor Clemente.
Present.
Mayor Toronto.
Present.
Council Member Scott.
Here.
Council Member Berlioz.
Present.
Great, and please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I meant to say something.
Beautiful.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we had closed session and direction was given to staff. So next up we have a presentation, commendation. We are recognizing Signal Service, Angels Camp business that's been here for 50 years. And so we have a proclamation for you. And so I'll read the proclamation and then we'll get up and do a photo. So have that for. So City of Angels proclamation, whereas Signal Service was founded in 1976 by Wilbert L. Wilson, Sr. in Calaveras County, California, with a mission to protect and serve the local community. And whereas what began as a small family-owned alarm company has grown into the largest in the Sierra foothills while continuing to uphold its family values and commitment to customer care. And whereas for 50 years, Signal Service has provided trusted fire protection, security systems, video surveillance, and 24-hour monitoring services to homes, schools, and businesses. And whereas Signal Service has contributed to the economic vitality and well-being of Calaveras County and the City of Angels Camp through job creation, community involvement, and long-standing local partnerships. And whereas the year 2026 marks a significant milestone as Signal Service celebrates 50 years of business, resilience, commitment to public safety, and serving the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Caroline Sherrato, Mayor of Angels Camp, California, hereby recognize and congratulate Signal Service on their 50th anniversary and extends its sincere appreciation for 5 decades of dedicated service to the residents and businesses of Calaveras County and the City of Angels. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Angels, California, to be affixed this 21st day of April 2026. So congratulations. Does the full council like to come up for a photo?
The whole gang?
The whole gang's here.
The whole gang is here?
And here.
Okay, shorties in the front.
Exactly.
The little ones.
One, two, three. All right, we got a few in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's official. All right. Thank you.
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah, exactly. Now
And we don't want you to feel like you're being held hostage here for the rest of our meeting, so if you do want to go, we understand.
All right, I think I'll take you up on that so these boys can have dinner and.
Oh, they look like they're having so much fun though.
I know, they were. They were. Well, thank you guys.
Good night, guys. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you guys very much.
On TV.
And you guys have
We do,
On the
yes,
30th.
thank you.
Yes, on the
Yeah,
30th.
we have our 50th reception. It's next Thursday, April 30th at our office, which is in downtown Angels
Right.
Camp. So
It's the old City Hall.
Yeah, yes, the old City Hall. So, oh, thank you for putting it up. So, yeah, 5:30, stop by. We're gonna have some light reception food and drinks and just sort of,
Sounds like.
yeah, thank the public for having us for so long.
And I actually should have said, if you wanted to say anything before you left, I don't know if you wanted to.
Oh.
He's a man of few words.
I know. If you want, yeah,
Well,
pull the microphone up and.
To just say that
we're really happy to call Angels Camp our home. We're not going anywhere. We've got prospects for more growth. In fact, when I travel to industry events and I get introduced to other dealers in other parts of the state, I'll hear, oh, you guys are the ones with the frog for your logo. It always bears, explanations. But anyway, thank you very much for the recognition. We're really pleased to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, guys.
Bye. Okay, so moving on to approval of the agenda as posted or amended. So does anyone have any changes to the agenda? Okay. Mike, do you have any changes to the agenda?
I do not, just the one we'll pull.
Okay, great.
Get to consent.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Roll call, we'll start with Councilmember Behill,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Relia.
Aye.
Okay, public comment. So the public may address the city council on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters may be addressed or referred to the city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes per person. Do we have any any public comment? Anyone online? You kids want to say?
No one online.
Great. So moving on to consent items, we have 2 items.
We'd like to make just one change to the draft minutes. We can pull that if you like, or we can amend it and leave it there, whichever the mayor would prefer. You want to just pull it?
Yeah, let's just pull it.
Take the safe route.
Yep. Okay, so it looks like we have item B. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item A, right, because we're pulling B.
Right.
Second.
Do we have any public comment on item B?
Behill,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Relia.
Aye.
Great, and so coming back to 10A, what was your change?
Just a small change. It's been the practice to just record the vote and not record any dissents specifically. So you notice in item 11A of the minutes, we had that ordinance and the vote was 4-1, but we did not record that it was Councilmember Behill that had voted nay. And so we want to, for this one and going forward, to record any dissent. That'll make it better for staff if I need to figure out why we voted a certain way. So that'll be a thing we'll change here and a change in the future, but I just didn't catch it at the time.
Okay, great.
I make a motion to approve item A.
Second.
Do we have any public comment on 10A?
Nothing online.
Great.
Behill,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Relia.
Okay, moving on to item 11A, we have a public hearing. So introduce, waive the second reading by substitution of title, hold a public hearing and adopt ordinance 554, deleting chapter 17.61 of the City of Angels Municipal Code, accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and junior accessory dwelling unit, JADUs, and creating a new chapter 17.61 adopting state ADU, JADU law. So,
Mayor and council members, this is the second reading, after which, if you approve it, we would be simply complying with state law. Should you choose not to approve it, we would still be simply complying with state law, the way they've set it up. I wanted to clarify a couple things from our last presentation. State ADU law provides statutory minimums. And we basically went pretty middle of the road in ours. There's flexibility you can have in your local ordinance, but it's, for example, parking. If the state law requires 1, you may require 0. In other words, you can become more flexible than state law, but you cannot, they've set your minimum. So things that it might appear that in adopting your own ordinance, you could be way more strict than state law. You actually can't, with very few exceptions, one of which has to do, the one most people adopt, it has to do with the height of buildings. For some unknown reason, they allow you to have ADUs that are not the same height as everything else in the zoning district. I've known a couple agencies that have decided to use that. The one I work with right now is getting rid of it because it just made no sense and it created some problems for them. So there's not a lot of flexibility you can get when you write your own. The only way you can get any flexibility is if you write your own, but frankly, we're pretty much down the middle on the code we've been using, and it will continue to be that way if we are implementing state law. And that's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Misunderstood it then, because I thought that we could be stricter.
No. They give you the minimum you can get away with. We could, for example, decide that the maximum size of a dwelling unit could not be up to 1,200. You could make it smaller. Not a lot of people do that. You could, and it's something we can consider in the future. But in implementing state law right now, it's 1,200, and what would be implementing state law, it would be 1,200. Because we did not do much different in state law.
So we're not losing anything by adopting this, like moving on.
Just going along with state law, you're not.
Anybody else have any questions?
Comments. This is just another example of an unfunded state mandate that hurts our city. There are things that they mandate that we have to do that don't make any sense. They've got all our small little heritage streets and they want to build an ADU, you can, you don't have to have any more parking. So you're adding families, there's no room for any more cars, you don't have to worry about that, let's make it more crowded. We'll park elsewhere on the streets, who knows. There, I'm sure, are a number of examples in this state law that don't fit Angels Camp. And so I won't vote for anything that, even though it's a state law, it's mandated. I think that we need to push back where it doesn't make sense for our city. I'd like to see us address ADUs, but I'd like to see us look at all the different things that we could possibly do. If we're kind of in the middle of the road, is that where we want to be? I'd like to see us look at this instead of just passing a rubber stamp for the state. So I think we need to do our homework, and I won't be supporting this.
So Amy, can we place restrictions like on heritage streets and things that you can't build an ADU? I mean, can we, even though we agree with it in concept, can we, narrow it down?
You can try if you make a very particular finding about health and safety, and you are very narrow and you are very specific. So you would want to say, on this road, we don't want to allow it because we can prove that there's a health and safety issue, and you really need to be able to document it. So if you wanted to go to that, you could try it, and I would not guarantee success, but there is flexibility for health and safety if you want to try. People have tried to do it for very high fire hazard severity and have not been successful.
Oh,
Who
wow.
says who would kick that back? The state?
The state basically, they were making a claim that very high fire hazard severity meant you should not be putting ADUs in there. And the state came in and said, no, that just means you have to bolster the building materials that you're using in those zones. It doesn't mean you can't
Like a
do
hold
it.
down.
So stuff like that. So like, while it might seem logical, when people actually tried, the state did not give its backing. So you can try to make the
Right. But
argument.
we could say that there's no parking in a certain area, like the parking is so limited because of the heritage streets.
Yes, you can say that, but you would want to go, and that would block ingress and egress
Right,
for
right.
emergency vehicles, and we can prove that, and blah, blah, blah.
Well, it could limit who could even live in them, because if you're ADA, how do you deal with that?
There is some question about when you do or do not have to comply with ADA
Wow,
under ADU.
okay. I did have a question on my notes here that said, can we just give a timeline and plan to be, like our plan to be compliant and submit that ordinance to HCD instead of just blatantly just saying we're gonna do what the state wants us, like we're gonna just adopt the state's thing right now, or can we give them a timeline instead of?
So that is one possibility. We already have a timeline though, in that within a year, we will have a compliant one that we will be sending to the state along with our updated housing element. So that is our timeline for now for when we'll be able to do it. Just complying with state law is in effect just complying with what is more or less really in our ordinance today.
So it has-
I went through all the changes today pretty carefully, And none of the things that have been changed that we will be changing in our ordinance allow any flexibility at all. They are all shalls. None of them are mays. So, are we gaining anything by having our own ordinance at this point and not just deferring to state law? I could not find anything. We can certainly try to go further than what state law requires and make arguments about health and safety when we come back in a year. But I would not make any guarantees.
That's what I was gonna ask, is if, like, how long it would take to have a tailor-made one for Angels Camp, so that would be about a year.
We'll be doing an update as we do our housing element update. And we did try to tailor it somewhat to Angels Camp, but again, we have to really have strong documentation in order to successfully tailor it to Angels Camp.
But and if we go this direction, we don't get locked in there, right? Like now we want to, like in a
No.
year when we have it all tailor-made, we can push it. We're not going to be locked in.
The state law says that after they've notified you, you have 60 days to comply. There was no way we were going to be able to turn this around within 60 days. They told us in late February. We would have 8 days to turn it around. And we simply were not going to be able to do that. So instead we said, okay, we're just going to time out. We're going to take our time, rewrite it in detail as we update our housing element. So that's the route I was recommending. If you want to go a different route, we certainly can. We wouldn't be out of compliance because whether you pass this tonight or not, we are
It
still
defaults to the
required to
state.
comply with state law.
You
Regardless,
still have to, it's regardless.
regardless.
You had something you wanted to?
I do, I have a couple questions. So if would we have to submit a plan and an argument for every one of our heritage roads? Or, I mean, could we just do a comprehensive list and say these roads won't, for health and safety reasons, yada, yada, yada? Or would it have to be in an individual case by case? That's my first question.
We would want to have some sort of standard, that
Okay.
we would want to establish a standard.
Okay.
Not just all of our heritage roads, we'd want to say those that are clearly less than this many feet wide and can only allow ingress one way. And
11 foot 5 inches or whatever.
Yeah,
And you've identified
and
those
we've
roads.
identified those,
We've
so
identified all
that's
those.
not a too big, heavy
Right.
road.
And then my second question, not that you shoulda, coulda, woulda, but how does our plan compare to other small cities, rural cities? I mean, is it, or do most cities just fall into the state mandates it and we'll just follow it and without a lot of tweaking?
Most just follow state law because, again, there are maybe 6 things you can have flexibility on.
Okay.
The
Okay.
rest are all mandated.
Okay.
And the flexibility they give you is very small. The locations they give you flexibility, which might work in our favor, is that things listed on the California Register of Historical Places. So if we can try to play with that and make it more historical, means, stretch that out a little bit, that's where we might want to play with that.
And there may be people who live in those areas that do want an ADU, like maybe they want to move in a parent, or maybe they want to have additional income, I don't know, but.
So that's where I'm gonna
That's
throw
the
out
opposite
is,
side.
I'm gonna throw out the opposite side of like, I have young children that there is no way on God's green earth they can afford a house right now. Or look at these guys out here. But an ADU in the back
Right.
might give them a place to live for a little while and live, away from your parents, but still have your own thing. Or
Yeah.
aging grandparents. I mean, everybody, or aging parents, everybody's got that going on too. It's another means of income. People need income right now too. So, and my other thing is, how many did we have last year?
Total?
2? I'm just saying.
And that was a big year.
And I'm just saying the year prior, how many for? So I think we're putting the cart before the horse on all this too.
Sure.
If we had 30 this year and another 10 lined up for the following year, then there might be, but I think we're going at this because we can make an ordinance at any given time, correct? So that's my only thing. I'm voting yes for this, just, it makes us current, we're easy, but if this was an issue where we have heritage road blocks and the fire trucks we already have that issue going on. And I don't think this compounds the issue any,
So
but there's my
there's
own.
something to keep in mind. It's unlikely in our heritage roads because those lots are so small.
Right, you have
that somebody's
less than a
going to
quarter
do an
acre.
attached ADU.
Right.
There's not enough room to do it. The topography is wrong to do it.
Right.
That's why we have most of them in Greenhorn Creek.
Right.
They might do a junior ADU. A junior ADU is converting a bedroom.
Exactly. No, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Do you guys understand what we're talking about? The ability for your mom or dad to put another house in your backyard,
Well, you know, like a little
Like a
tiny
little-
house or like a
Yeah.
ADU,
so that,
Never take the superintendent
They're
out.
not so tiny though.
so, yeah, some of them.
And-
No, there's 800 to 1,000 square feet in here.
And also, you can rent your neighbor's lot line, the setbacks, don't matter anymore.
And
You
there's conditional use permits, there's all sorts of different ways you can go with this too, correct?
Yeah, it's 4 feet on sides. They made that exception. Fronts, you can still enforce fronts unless they're under 800 square feet and they're an ADU, but that is an option you have under the code. People don't tend to mess with the rear ones, I'm not quite sure why. But you can have some flexibility with the front setback. You can say no. And honestly, we've always just complied with the front setbacks. We've never had somebody ask us to accept that. They have asked us to accept sides.
I do have one more. So can an HOA say no to ADUs, period, or does state law trump that?
No, what they can do in HOA, you can regulate the materials and the architecture. It has to be can't be discretionary.
Right.
It's gotta be very,
Okay.
this is the kind of material we'll allow, this is the
Right.
kind of architecture, but you can't go so far that it keeps you from being able to do
To
that.
do it, gotcha. Okay.
Or charge,
same standard there.
Okay.
but you can still use architectural.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the council? Do we have any public comment?
No public
You
comment.
guys get extra points if
I was
you
gonna
ask
say,
questions.
don't take.
I feel like she's the
Do
one to
you?
say something.
Okay.
Do they really?
I can call drag.
All right, so I'll bring it back. So this is the second hearing, so this is,
We need to vote.
yeah.
I make a
And a
motion
No,
to,
you gotta open
No,
the hearing.
I need to open the hearing, yeah.
Slow down, Mike, slow down.
I thought you did.
Well, I did open the hearing at the beginning, okay. And so now I close it, and there's no more public comment options. Okay, so I'm closing the public hearing, and we can bring it back for a vote, or a motion, excuse me.
I'll make a motion to, oh man,
Approve and adopt.
approve and adopt chapter 17.61, adopting the state ADU law.
I think you need to say ordinance 554 and
Yeah.
deleting chapter.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
holy moly. Adopt ordinance 554, deleting chapter 17.61 of the Angels Camp Municipal Code.
And you're substituting a different 1761.
And-
It simply references.
And
state law.
creating a new chapter 17.61, adopting state JADU law.
Got it.
How can anyone second that? We don't even know what you're talking about.
I do, I second that.
All right. Angel,
Nay.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Scott,
Nay.
Brilliant.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to 11B, Resolution 2647, approving Task Order 5 in the amount of $10,000 for Augustine Planning Associates to update the city's general plan housing element.
Hi, good evening. The general plan has a number of elements in it, one of which is the housing element, and each of them have their own sort of cycle when they need to be renewed. The housing element is on an 8-year cycle. We are at the end of that 8-year window, and so we are now required to go out and do a new housing element. That'll bring some ultimate goodness. We do need that as a prerequisite to apply for all the various grants, CDBG, and other types of things we get. So it's a compliance task that we need to do. Obviously, our planning department is constituted of Amy through Augustine Planning Associates, and so any additional tasks are going to take her outside of her normal routine work, and this will require not just the extra work, but also the outreach and other kinds of activities. And so we would like to amend her contract in the amount of $10,000 to allow her to conduct the outreach and the like required, and then complete the housing plan element. And so that is the request from staff.
So my question is, Michelle, when we get a request like this, does that just go to our reserve and we pull out, or do you build in some extra? Where's that money?
It would depend. I mean,
of course, we're always, having the zero-based budget, we have the budget
Right.
for it. But right now, for something like this, we would want to use reserve because everything, but when you get to the end of the year, if we're under budget somewhere and we
Then
have
it falls
excess
back.
money, it's going to be transferred in to
Okay.
cover this
Perfect.
expense. Yeah.
It says that it was included in the mid-year budget review for this item.
This one, actually, yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
When's the due date on this? I would say 2027, is it beginning or end?
It would be right around July of 2027 approximately.
So about
With this, you go to HCD, they give you comments. You go back to HCD, they give you comments. So there's usually some back and forth that goes on. It usually takes a good 6 to 8 months.
And with this right now, with Eureka Oaks subdivision and some uncertainty about how fast they're gonna be able to build homes and, let me back up. So with our housing element, will we know what we need, given that uncertainty? Or is that already counted as done deal because the entitlements are there?
So regardless of what you've done in the previous 8 years, they give you a whole new goal to pursue. So we have a whole nother allocation to pursue now.
So the state tells us what we need to pursue?
To pursue, and by pursue, I mean provide enough land to accommodate. We do not have to actually deliver on that as the city. We simply have to provide enough land to accommodate X number of units.
Okay. So I know for decades, whenever I've read any city's housing element, it always says unable to accomplish human and financial resources unavailable, or lacking human and financial resources. And so, I guess my question is, is there a way to delay this, or maybe use our own old information or something? Not spending money until we know what Eureka Oaks is gonna do, or how does that impact this? Or
It doesn't matter what Eureka Oaks does. The
Okay.
state has given us a new goal for 2027 through.
It's
Thank
the
you.
old plan.
So regardless of what they do, we have a new goal. And surprisingly, our goal this time isn't as much low and very low. We actually have a lot more moderate that we need to pursue in this next housing element.
Okay, so we're able to use the number of proposed houses in Eureka Oaks as inventory, basically. If they say we need 200 houses and we have 106 there, can we say, oh, we have 106, that's part of our goals to incorporate those, now we just need 94 more?
So the goal is always when you do your housing element to identify enough property to meet the number that the state's given you for that period. Forgetting what you've already done, forgetting what you may do.
But the Eureka Oaks homes are counted towards the 2020, or 2017 to 2027.
Now, yes.
Okay.
And what actually happens is when you give them a final building permit is when you get to count them.
Oh,
So if we give some of them.
That's my whole
yeah,
question.
okay.
Yeah, so we give
that's-
some of them final building permits before 2027, they count towards the through 2027 one. If we give them in 2028, we get to count them to the next one.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Clear as mud.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when you actually finish them, and again, how many people actually meet that? Almost no one. It's you provide the land, the market actually is gonna determine if you're gonna meet it or not. Not even how much staff you do or do not have. There are little programs in there that you can implement, and that's usually staff related, but honestly, it's usually the market that's gonna determine whether you're gonna meet your housing element goals or not. If you do not meet them, no harm, no foul. If you do not attempt to, or provide enough land for it, then you don't get your CDBG grants, and as some jurisdictions have found, that's where the people will find your weakness, and they will sue you over an inadequate, uncertified housing element for any development you try. Any economic development you try, any commercial development you try, they will always focus on your housing element because it's the most complicated and it's hardest to keep up to date. So they will always find that weakness, and if they want to challenge any of your new development, they'll pick on that.
So do we just have that land zoned properly for
Yeah.
that, is what we're
Yes,
doing?
that's
Okay.
it.
So we've already zoned that for Eureka Oaks, whether they build 1 or all of them in the next year.
We still get credit for,
You get credit for it, but it doesn't go towards the count until the final building permit is given.
you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 27 goal ends, and doesn't matter what happened, and now going forward, we can count Eureka Oaks again. We counted it last time, we can count again.
We can, and we have to rezone something for moderate instead of workforce, right?
And
Or whatever that would change.
And basically, we're doing R3, we're doing RE1, we're doing R1. We don't have to guarantee it's gonna be for which income group, but generally, multifamily will be for lower, single family will be for higher. So you try to get some sort of a mix. And I think we're gonna have plenty already. We're just gonna have to identify the properties.
But if we don't do this and we don't do this study, there is no CDGB grants, or we can be held liable for different
Yes.
lawsuits.
So, when we got the entitlements for Eureka Oaks, there were a couple other subdivisions coming online at the same time that also wanted preferential treatment, water bills and, permit fees and that type of thing. And they were told no, because our housing element wasn't, we had our housing element met. We didn't have, we used up all the allotments. There was a specific number of units that we could provide benefits for, and after that we couldn't.
That was based on the grants that we had received.
Okay, I thought that was based on our city ordinance, or our city.
We did our nexus study based upon what the housing element said in order to argue for lower fees. In effect, though, what we've actually been doing is we will lower fees if we get offsetting grant money. That's what we've been doing in actuality.
Okay. Okay.
Any other comments?
Talking about like John Allen. I think we
And
did.
there's the other guy
We
too.
did.
Next to the cemetery, there's a subdivision going.
Yeah, it was Bales.
Okay.
Yeah, the 10 acres.
But I think there was, either way, yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, I think we
all
did.
all of us are going in there, and
You just jarred my memory to the wave. Yeah, we'll talk about it, yes.
The units were all gonna be in excess of our housing element needs, and so.
But we did, we offered them something.
So it's a first come, first serve.
Right.
Whoever can take those credits that we've got out there for
Okay,
basically that kind of thing. Based on the amount of grants, we can increase what we can offset. But we were only anticipating, you have to do an nexus study before you ever get to that point. So we had to base it on something. So we based it on our housing element. If we get 103 units and we have those extra 4 units and we have more grant money than we anticipated, there's more money available for that.
okay,
I hope that makes sense.
thank you.
Any public comment?
Nothing on.
Okay, so bringing it back for a motion.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 26-47 approving task order 5 in the amount of $10,000 for Amy Augustine.
I'll second.
Councilmember Vehil,
Hi,
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Earlier.
Hi, and I would like to say thank you very much.
Oh.
Because when I look at the list of stuff you do all the time, I would just like to say thank you for all you do.
Nope.
You must clone yourself.
Okay, moving on to 11C, approve construction change order number 003 Vallecito Road Sewer Replacement Project. I'm not sure who's bringing this, okay.
I'm sorry?
Said I'm not sure who was bringing this, that's
That's
Mike.
me, yeah. So the Vallecito Road sewer project, we talked about that the last time, it is almost all buttoned up. There was one last pair of change orders, if you will. And they are two, we kind of saw them, one we saw coming, one was a little bit new. There was 50 feet of the storm drain that was in the park itself, that when they dug down to go get the sewer pipe, you discovered that this storm drain that is normally encased in gravel, but once you expose it, it's just not gonna age well, and so they needed to fix that. The intention was to not do that until we came to you, but with the rain coming, they went ahead and did that one. We're essentially asking for ratification at this point now, because they wanted to do it, save the money to button the thing up. It would have been twice as expensive to wait for the approval. The second, so it was 50 feet of 30-inch stormwater.
That's what they had.
The second piece is that the driveway, the parking lot just across Vallecito Road, it was all torn up. You got all those skid steers and tractors and all kinds of things, and I don't imagine it was in great shape before. So that space, and then the little bit of an apron just on this side, it really covers to about where the designated parking spots are outside of the fire building. It's not on the adjacent road, it is entirely that other area. It's about 6,700 square feet of asphalt, and so they would like to do that. It's priced at the price they were using for all the other services when they bid and selected it. The total of those two would be $87,820. That would bring the total contract to $1,510,358. And we'd ask that the board approve those two change orders, and then we'll have this wrapped up. And Dave is here if you have any particular questions.
So Dave, some of the pavement patching must have been included in Sutton's original contract. The trenching and then,
Yes,
okay.
correct,
So-
correct.
Go ahead.
So the change order here, the work that was in the contract, the pavement reconstruction associated with the trenching, that is not part of this change order. That is part of the basic contract. This is the extra work that turns out as we're working in the parking area, and that the parking area is basically disintegrating as we work. And so the actual cost that is in the change order is the net, is the extra paving work that's required over the parking area.
Over and above repairing the ditch line.
Correct. The
Okay.
trench is
Okay.
sized for this.
Okay.
And as they went through, it's like the horror movie as you're coming through and everything's falling apart as you're trenching through there on that. So that's the extra cost that we're identifying.
Are they gonna grind it, Dave?
They are going to grind it. They're going to take the old paving and that, and they're going to grind it and use that as a base
Oh, they're
rather
gonna-
than bringing in base. So there's a significant savings in doing that.
Will there be, do you think, will there be any extra or extra?
That's part of the
Grindings?
change order.
Pardon?
The grinding is part of the change.
No,
order.
I didn't mean cost, any extra grindings left.
Where do you want to put it?
Well, Dave knows where I wanna put it. Remember, Dave, we talked about right
Yes.
past where Larry Road, where the
Yes.
asphalt is
Yes,
sloughing off?
yes, they're reconstructing the pavement. There is no, the grinding is part of the change order.
Right. But will there be any extra material, or will all that
I'm
be for
sorry.
the base?
No, there's no, we'll use all of the
Okay,
grindings.
then I don't have a question.
We will use all of the grindings. No grindings will be.
I do have a question about Tryon Road. So that part was also dug up. We had a water break. There's been some,
That'll all be patched.
yeah, are they paving over here?
The paving here in front of the fire station is part of that from the water line break
Yeah.
that occurred. The drainage in front of the fire station unfortunately does
terrible.
not work very
No.
well.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up. Is that going to be part of it too? Because that drainage is
Yeah,
terrible.
That's what
that's
Okay.
part of the fix.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Really questioning my parking today.
And so Dave, have they connected all the laterals now?
No. Can I give them a quick?
Of course.
Yeah, can we please?
So here's where we are. We're getting close. And Michael was correct. We're almost there. So this week, this is the main line. The main line is all in, but it hasn't been connected at either end. We're finishing the testing. We test the line and we test the manholes. And because we want as tight a system as possible. We only want wastewater in there, no stormwater in that. So up to now, I shouldn't say it that way, it sounds negative, but the pipeline, the main line has passed all the tests. We're finishing the tests on the manhole. That will be done, would have been done probably today, but, well, you know what happened. So that testing should be done this week, should be finished this week. Once we do that, okay, now we're ready to connect at either end the new main line. To do that, we're going to do some bypassing. In other words, we're going to bring in some portable pumps and some hose and some pipelines so that we can bypass the main sewer as we make these connections. That will be scheduled for early next week.
Okay.
So once we have the main line connected, There'll be a period of time where both the old line and the main line are in operation. We are going to then, when that is complete, the main line is connected, then we go back and we finish reconnecting or connecting the laterals across the street.
Okay.
That should all be done sometime next week.
Okay,
Okay, then we pave.
then you pay.
So we're
And do
looking
all the
at,
patching.
the week of the 4th, May 4th, to be able to pave. We know we got this May 15th thing. Yeah,
May
we-
15th thing is coming up. It's kind of a big thing.
It is a big thing.
Especially since Caltrans is doing this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're gonna, we are, as I said, we met with the contractor, our weekly meeting today, right where Michael's sitting, and the contractor was sitting right there, and we were right, I won't say in his face, but we were pretty close, saying, okay, you wanna pave on the 4th, we'll pave the week of the 4th. It's 3 days worth of paving, between the parking lot, between all of the finishing along the shoulder where he has put the sewer in, and then here at the fire station. So we're looking at 3 days. So we said, okay, looks like starting May 4th to get that done. Obviously it all depends on if we get all the sewer completed in that. So we've got a little bit of time. We've got that extra week that if he doesn't get it in May 4th, then he's paving on May 11th so that we get it done before, so
Well,
we
the
get the
animals
parking
go
lot
in
back.
that Monday.
I know at the parade,
Tuesday,
and so,
Animals go before parade.
right, but I'm worried about just like having the parking available for the parade and all that and just, okay, striping, okay.
So let me ask another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Keep it the way it is.
Dave, is there anything, first of all, Sutton has to be, applauded because they were pounding on rock out there for
Yeah, the rock
longest
that they
time.
hit was
For the
unbelievable.
longest time,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
had they not hit that rock, they probably would have been done. I mean, sooner.
Yes, yeah. We normally measure progress in progress in terms of if they're building a sewer in hundreds of feet a day.
Right,
That's typically what you're looking at and what they price their projects at, if being able to do a couple hundred feet of sewer a day.
Okay.
They were doing 10
Yeah.
feet a
I
day.
know that rock down there
Yeah,
was
just
pretty
pounding on
unbelievable.
rock.
Yeah, they were just pounding that rock. But part of it is, that's why we have that rock clause.
no, exactly, exactly.
Because we just know that that they're gonna run into it, and rather than having a valley contractor comes up here and tries to do work in our neighborhood, and they're immediately, oh, we hit hard material. And we're like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is up here.
So,
So, but we
yeah.
could put a rock clause, and then our local contractors, we don't get any arguments.
Yeah.
No.
And then Dave, is there any part of his contract that's gonna help rehab, like the lawn area down there? Are they gonna hydro seed that, or is anything, or gravel in front of?
That's to be honest, Mike, that's to be determined. We
Okay.
haven't, we trenched through the park, Tryon Park. Tryon Park, there's not much there. I mean, it's not like,
No, I know.
and so we have to sort of come to a conclusion, how much do we want to try to spend at this point on that park? It's the same along there will be hydro seeding, and there will be some improvements or restoration along the shoulder in that. I hate to say we'll figure it out when we get there, but it's sort of like we'll figure it out when we get there. And Sutton knows that that's part of that. They've got to do some work in that regard.
That's why it's
So
good.
it'll be restored
to
to
local.
as is or better.
What was that?
It'll be restored to as is or better, or as it was or better.
Okay, perfect.
Correct.
That's perfect.
So a comment, first of all, I want to thank you for being proactive in replacing that pipe that needed to be done and not waiting to
Yes.
come to us and say, here's what we run into. You saved a bunch of time, and I appreciate that. But I do have a question on the asphalt, just for my education. When a job is bid and materials or trucks and things are gonna be out there, was that not foreseeable that they're gonna tear up that place and then it's gonna have to be repaired? And if it was foreseeable, why wasn't it in the bid? And if it's not foreseeable, is there insurance? I mean, are we just on the hook for any time a contractor ruins our asphalt?
So in their bid, included in the individual bid items for building the sewer, and we actually said, from here to here, give us a price. From here to here, there is a description that says that included pavement replacement. in their bid. So they were, I hate to say on the hook, but they were on the hook for, we have a standard city detail that says it's a kind of have a T, it isn't just a trench, it's a foot on either side of the trench. So they had, that was in their bid. It also had, there's in their bid that said groundwater. So they couldn't really come back and ask for an extra on groundwater because it was in their bid. There was not a bid item specifically broken out for pavement or any extra pavement work. That was not in their bid. So when they came forward with this, when we negotiated the change order regarding the paving on this, what we did was we went back to Sutton has worked for us before. They put the project in for us at Booster Way. We ended up paving the back parking lot of UWPA, because we sort of tore up their back parking lot as part of that work. But we had a unit cost from there. We negotiated unit cost from there. Well, on this case, we went back and said, well, how does what you want us, your unit cost here compared to your unit cost there? This was less than that. So we said, okay, that's a good number. And then we took it one step further. I called one of his competitors and said, this is the bid price or the unit price that he's giving me. Or how does this compare? And they said, that's low. He's giving you a really good price. And I trusted the folks that told me that. This was Moyle, who is working on our water meter project and building the habitat project and that. So I felt really comfortable, even though I didn't have the bid item in there, that what the price that Sutton was giving us was fair.
Okay. So how can we avoid that in the future, though?
Yes, I agree. I agree in the future, you're absolutely right, that we should have a bid item in there for paving or extra paving in that so that we have a cost right from the get-go. You're absolutely right.
Let me speak to that a little bit, because you go out and you do on a firm fixed price bid, you do a statement of work. And so if you don't, a contractor would say, I bet they're gonna need to do that parking lot. If they add that, then they're never gonna win the bid, right? The person who's gonna get the bid is the one that does exactly what you asked for. And then when you have these add-ons of the parking lot and the like, if you do that in advance, that's not a criteria upon which you are selecting your vendor. And so maybe they do it, it's $1 million a square foot. Well, you're required to take the lowest bidder. And so it would tend, those, they call them additive alternates. Those things you tend to not get really good value on that. So Dave's effort to sort of hold their feet to the fire and say, all right, well, yes, this is additional work. It's not in the initial scope and it's a change order, but we're gonna force you to be efficient in the process, or we'll just say no.
Okay, but I think
Yeah, it wasn't included in the initial bid.
No, but
And if they would have thrown it to it, they would have lost the bid.
but I
Well,
think,
not if we had it in the scope, though.
Right, but if it's in the scope, if we include it in the scope next time, then we don't have a change order.
but I think, and I don't want to put words in Scott's mouth, I think what Scott is saying, had we had asphalt that we just resurfaced and put in there brand new, what percentage of that brand new, if that brand new asphalt was damaged because of the heavy equipment and things like that, how much can we go back to the contractor and ask them to repair? Because, they have to, when they leave a job, it should be, as Alvin has mentioned, it should be in the same or better condition than when they started. So I agree that parking lot was failing and the heavy equipment helped that along. And so maybe one of the things that you're sharing, Michael, is we assess what additional damage is going to be done or work is going to need to be done and front load that. If we have failing asphalt and they're going to park equipment on it, et cetera, then there's an assumption that we're going to have to do more work there in that area. I think that's what you're getting at.
I hear you.
And my guess is if it was new, it would be damaged anyway, right?
I think the takeaway that I have, and I'll just share, just kind of expounding on this is, you don't want to get.
No, you don't.
You don't want to nickel and dime.
No, you don't want to nickel and
the
dime.
contractor. You don't want to say, well, you did this and you caused an extra of that, and you got to pay for that. And I mean that. this case, it was probably,
You said trucker.
it was probably a pretty good assumption that with all the work that was gonna be done in that parking lot,
Right.
you're gonna end up destroying the parking lot.
And we probably should have I think all we're saying is you probably should have just front-loaded that.
Yeah.
Although it probably worked out better in the long run because we end up getting a better deal on the work.
Maybe.
And it's gonna get faster, and it's
Right.
gonna get done really
That's how you
fast.
done it.
And I guess my last question is, on this project, are we on task for, I mean, other than the things we've hit, putting in a little extra valves and different things, we're on course to be on budget and the whole 9 yards, correct?
They gave us a good bid.
Yeah.
They've stayed within the bid. They haven't come back and said, oh gosh, we moved or we missed. They've been very, very fair in that regard. There may be, at the end of the day, there might be something else that comes up.
Right.
But I mean, they've done,
And that's great. I would just like to say thanks to Sutton and Moyle and every contractor we've used over the last couple of years has been pretty spot on and good. So just kudos to those contractors we've been using.
And when do we start the next project?
well, that-
When are we gonna start the next project?
yeah. what am
What's
I
on
saying?
future plans?
That's it, I know, I'm only joking. All right.
They've been, this has been a very difficult job.
Oh, it has.
And we
Oh, it has.
talked about that right at the beginning of that, and, I told them today, we've been, from the engineering side, we're extremely pleased.
No, they've done it.
That they've been able to get this done, and we're looking like in a month.
They do better than conference.
We're substantially complete, and we're just doing punch list items, and
Yeah,
They've done
good.
an excellent job.
Well, thank you so much for that update
Thanks.
and all
You
the
bet.
Thank you.
questions. Okay, so bringing it, no, I've got to go out to public comment. Have we already done that for this one? I don't think so.
Not yet.
Okay, public comment?
Nothing online.
Great. Okay, so then we'll bring it back for a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Councilmember Behill,
aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Berlio.
Hi.
What are we on to? Oh, 11. 11D, approval to change group life insurance carrier from the Hartford to Madison National Life Insurance Company. That's Michelle. Thank you. Bailey.
Thanks, guys.
So it was Packers or Green and Gold?
I was
A's are on the A's.
I was
are on
wondering if
board.
he chooses his team based off the color myself, because he's a Packers and an A's fan. They're not close to each other.
No, but the A's are on a roll right now.
too light green.
Hello.
Michelle.
So we received a notification from our insurance broker that they would like to change health insurance. We're currently with the Hartford Group, and they're looking at Madison National Insurance, life insurance. It's exactly the program that they're offering, it's apples for apples. We're basically getting the same exact thing. It saves us $186 a year. It went down, not significantly, but I mean, we'll take it.
Yeah.
And this is covered 100% from the employer for the group term life. And some of the things we could, eventually look into, is offering more or, whatever. But for right now, what we came to bring to the council tonight is that we would like to request to change insurance companies, which would then allow us to send a termination letter to Hartford, because we have a period of time where we need to get that in before the contract renews July 1. And then go into contract with Madison National Life.
And it's no change to the employee,
No change to the employee.
so it's the same,
Exactly the same policy. Yeah,
except it's
yeah,
just a different group handling it.
Yeah.
Do the employees know of any change? Or?
We would notify them. I don't even think they know who the current one is. So if you ask them.
Yeah, so my question is, why is this in front of the council? Can't we change vendors without
We
bringing
could
it to?
change, we're terminating, we're entering into a new contract, so that's why we brought it. to
So the
council.
contract has to come to the council?
It would come to the council. That's
Okay.
how we've done it in the past.
Would you have preferred this as a consent item then?
Probably.
I don't know, for me, for 186, yeah,
Yeah.
so, but either way, it should be a quick and easy slam dunk.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any public comment?
Nothing online.
Okay, bringing it back for a motion.
So move.
Second, give it to the young lady in the
Got
right.
it.
Councilmember Behill,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Scott. Aye. Broglia.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Item 12, informational items.
Don't have any of that.
Great. Number 13, we have administrative report.
So we'll bring a full report to the next meeting.
Great. Council reports. I'll start with you, Scott Behill.
No report.
I attended the Caltrans meeting held a couple weeks ago Thursday regarding the second phase of the wagon trail. And it is going to cut right smack through Tusconia's property. It's an amazing thing. The presentation lasted like 30 minutes, and the people that were there were asking really good questions. Some of their homes that now you're living off, we're talking about the second phase of the wagon trail, from Stallion into the city. They've done that first phase. Some of their driveways are going to be like almost up to a half mile away from the new road. And a lot of the questions were, are they going to put left-hand turn lane pockets? A lot about safety and things like that. So I thought the questions were good. They had a number of Caltrans people there. But, a lot of the questions centered around the amount of cuts and fill and things. I had an opportunity to talk with Cole and Ronnie Spence, whose properties are going to be impacted the most. And it's just going to be an interesting project. It really is. And they're talking maybe 2028, and they're in the land acquisition portion of that.
Yeah.
So, the second meeting I attended was CPPA, the Calaveras Public Power Authority. And the best news is that we, along with a number of other power agencies, have been in front of FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, asking and negotiating with PG&E regarding our rates. Prior to this, they had the formula rate, and they're going to go back to a fixed rate system. And so our secondary rates are estimated to lower to 14 cents from the current rate of 18 cents a kilowatt. So that is significant. And they're almost done with all of the negotiations. One of the things that may be a hang-up is the amount of money PG&E can charge for fire hardening. So how much money they have to collect in order to provide the services that they need to make sure that we're all safe in those communities that are impacted by wildfires. And, where's that one right there? And,
I think they're spending about 31 cents of every dollar on
yeah,
that right now.
on that.
Yeah.
Right. And we mentioned Royal before. I had an opportunity to talk with the supervisor installing the meters. They're installing about 50 or 60 meters per day. And it's just pretty impressive. And what Royal is doing, he did say though, he has uncovered a few that probably hadn't been read in years because they were filled with dirt as he's sucking the dirt out. And he did say, as we've talked about, some people may experience increases because every once in a while he'll run into one where someone has tapped into the line. Yeah.
Oh.
And so,
Pre-meter.
yeah.
Wow.
So, but, I was impressed. And the other thing that he shared was that I asked him if they're gonna be like battery operated, but by the meter, when it spins, is going to charge the battery. So he said they're gonna be pretty self-sufficient, and the amount of time it's gonna save us. So.
And we did send a test file to Badger Meter for the Beacon software, and their programming, it worked great.
Oh, good.
And so they're getting everything programmed, and then they're gonna have us actually go out and do a poll here probably in the next few weeks.
Good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Mine
we
got
should
flipped
be
out.
reading meters maybe by June. So,
Yeah.
Great.
No, it's been impressive. It's been impressive. So that's all I have to report.
Kara?
I have nothing to report, but I did want to, I have nothing. So,
Okay.
I don't have anything, sorry.
I had Utica budget, and before that, there was Utica, we'll call it CIP project. Those guys approved 4 or 5 projects that are going to push us over our budget limit for this year. So we have to sharpen our pencils and look at how we're going to spend some funds and do some things. So as a preliminary first budget meeting, there will be many more to come, I'm sure. But that's where we're at the moment. I will let you guys know more as we whittle away and chunk away at it. So.
I don't have anything to report, but I did want to just say with the solid waste task force, with the passing of Jen Cashy, and I just send our condolences to her family. It's very sad. So don't know where that's going to land for a while either. She was a powerhouse with our solid waste for the county. So, okay, and so correspondences, do we have any of those? And then our calendar.
All right, if you want to take a look here, we have our May 2026 calendar. I will add that we've added the LLD commission on here. They have decided to meet every first Thursday of the month. So they're now on here, and then we've gone ahead and tried to add some local events that are happening just so we can kind of see how they compare to other things you guys have going on. Yeah.
And I will not be at the next council meeting.
Okay.
I'll be out of state.
Good to know.
And then Haley, we moved the COG, will be the 7th.
Yeah.
Oh, you did move it?
Yeah, so
it's
COG
gonna be
has
the
been
7th.
moved to May 7th. But outside of that, this is our May agenda coming up, and then June looking very similar.
You guys can leave if you'd like. It's almost,
We're almost
somebody's
done.
done. We're almost done
It's
now.
gonna start
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys, thank you guys.
7:01 on the.
7:01, go.
Yeah. Almost dragged left early.
I should have taken a group photo with them for her. Okay, so that's great. Thank you for adding like fair kickoff dinner. I am leaving town Thursday for work, and I'll be gone through Wednesday, so I will not be at UWPA, and so Mike Chimente is gonna be there in my place. And if there's an emergency, call me.
And May 5th is the meeting. You'll be out here? Yes. Okay. All right.
And Michael, I'm assuming, are you, or who's going to represent the city at the LLD meetings? Are you going to attend, or?
I've been currently attending, but.
Okay,
there's a
good.
different
Oh, good.
preference.
That's great.
Okay, perfect. Good.
Okay, future agenda items.
I'd like us to talk about, if we don't need to talk about it, maybe issue a task order to Aaron for the crosswalks.
Yes.
So he can bring it back, or I'd like to see it out on the agenda next month or the next meeting.
Aaron and I had a discussion about that. We'll see him Thursday. We'll talk in more detail. A couple of different options, one of which is like a reflective thing. So we are making active steps on that, but there's some things I want to know first, but yes.
Okay. So
again,
hopefully we'll see that shortly,
That's the plan.
not 6 months.
We'll have a brief to you of what that path looks like.
Okay.
5 months.
And the other thing is, last meeting, I think it was, we did annexation of properties that are hooked up to city sewer and water. And I asked Amy whether or not there were other properties out there that are hooked up to city sewer and water, but that they're not part of the city. And I would just like to explore what would that cost or do, what kind of negotiations we'd have to do to bring those properties in. I don't know how many there are, but I know they're out there.
So your question is, there are properties that are receiving city water and sewer that are not
Right.
already included
I
in
think
the
there's some
city.
properties like off of Centennial
Okay,
that, or what's the rationale of why they're not part of the city? And I'm sure that's going to negotiation with the county because of their tax base and things. But I don't know if that's low-hanging fruit, when we consider annexation.
It's kind of like a buffer. It's harder than the past one, but maybe easier than the next one. Because we're gonna have to negotiate with the county at some point over
Right.
property taxes.
Right.
I think we do it on a couple houses instead of a big parcel.
Oh, yeah,
And so it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
not a buffer thing, not the right word, but kind of stepping stone.
Ease into it. Just a couple homes to pick up. Yeah.
So Centennial's not part of,
I don't think Centennial is. I think, as I understand, don't quote me. As I understand it, those folks are hooked up because we're right there.
Yeah.
But that's not part
There's
of the
definitely
city.
people on this end of town that have water sewer, city water sewer that are not part of the city.
It's interesting, because you think that would be.
Some undocumented.
I also don't think that some of them want to be part of the city.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's that piece too.
Yeah, well, trade-offs will be for them.
Yeah. Any other future agenda items?
Not at the moment, I'll give Michael another meeting.
Okay, well, then I think that's it. We just need a
So
motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Aye.
Sharada,
Bye.
Scott,
Aye.
Rolio.
Aye.
All right.
Trying to use up my
Adjourned
days
at
on
7:00.
media.